Welcome. You're watching Support Life. Norm Currie is my name, and today we're speaking with Reverend Gavin Baulch. Welcome, Gavin.
Well, thank you, Norm, for the introduction, and it's great to be on the show.
Thank you. Reverend.
Well,
what's that mean?
What does it mean? It certainly doesn't mean very reverend, because there are moments when that may not be the case. But certainly, when it comes to, I think, being constrained by love or the love of God, that will take you into situations and circumstances that you may not wish to be in, but you discover that the only thing that will take you out the other side is this unconditional love. And it seems to come partly from within, but most times I'm a little short of it, and I think there's an abandonment on who is greater than I am. And what denomination does your persuasion come under? Well, I'm serving the Wesleyan Methodist Church of Australia, and not in the normal kind of profile where you might have a parish. I ask to be ordained to the arts, and that allows me to have fellowship with extremely creative people. And I think if we live in a society that does not embrace the arts, we're in a very dark place and stage of life, because I think the artist often causes us to think outside of our very set intellectual box.
Yes. And you also, you're a police chaplain of more recent years, is that right?
Yes, that's correct, yes.
And how do you find that have you ever had a group, a church? Have you ever had your own congregation?
Yes, I've been assistant pastor in a couple of churches. I'm at the moment spending a fortnight, one Sunday at one church and denomination and another Sunday at another, just encouraging the pastors and their church plants. So they're quite significantly different.
Yes.
It's just that when you get to, well, I'm 67, you realise that you do have a lot to give and share, and the limelight is not what you want to take.
No. Now, you having this arts emphasis, there's an enterprise called Inside Out, which really brings that artistic component into life in a big way. How does that work?
Well, I think everyone has a story to tell, and it's a story that someone else needs to hear. Yes. Actually, I think marriage is interesting. You have your spouse or partner, because if no one else knows that you lived and existed, there's someone to testify that Gavin Baulch lived or Norm lived. And so that's the smallest grouping or a community that exists, and it's a very artful community. So we take this idea out with our movie cameras or video cameras, and we ask people to tell their story, and we create an environment where they can, and we're looking for what's inside. There may be a lot of pain, and I think we're all dysfunctional at some level. Not perfect. I'd like to be, and I'd like to be not dysfunctional, but I have my moments, and it's to have people talk about that dysfunction, begin to name it, and see ways through. And so I work with young people all over the world to tell their perspective. So I guess I'm trying to use story and film to give them a voice when they don't have it.
Yes, and as you say, that comes down to children. At what sort of age does it come down to?
Well, we're working with as young as 11-year-olds. We just did a 4-week program in a year up to year 9, prep to year 9 in Caroline Springs area, where we had 80 6th graders.
Yes.
And basically we wanted to give them some skills for life so that when they go into year 7, they can resist this peer pressure that comes. They understand bullying to a degree, and it just gives them confidence to say yes appropriately and no appropriately.
And that's had some statistically established outcomes, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. Yes. I guess I'd call it transformative education, where the experience is really, it's personal. They've got evidence of outcome, which is in a DVD, their film that they've made, or their 30-second commercial that they've produced. But basically, they can see that within them there are thumbprints of a greater source called love of God. It's in them. It does shape them if they understand it, and we don't talk about that at all because we don't need to. They find they've got strengths, just natural talents that come out, and they say, "Oh, is that me?" And then they actually choose to go and make other short films at home and involve their parents, and we've had some great stories. So things like truancy, virtually nil because of the program, and if I can bring in the term self-harming, there was a noticeable reduction there.
And this is a bit of an off-the-wall question, but in previous interviews we've encountered situations where children who become aware that a brother or sister has been aborted in their life, it actually affects their behaviour. Have you had any of those stories come out with your inside out at all?
Well, indirectly, when you're talking with parents or other siblings, you hear stories from families because they begin to trust. They see what you're doing for their kids, and particularly after when they see some changes, people begin to share and talk about some of that. It is pain for people who go through that. Some children think that they've been deprived of a brother or sister, particularly if they're an only child. Yes. They kind of take it out on their parents, actually, when they're informed a little bit. Yes, it's a conundrum that exists, and I think it's very misinformed, and we're all coming to grips with it, really.
Yes, it's a very divisive issue. How long, with your background as a pastor, probably forever, but more prominently, your interest in Right to Life, where did that really fire up? What fired it up to the front of your mind?
What fired it up? Okay, I'll be very honest. As a child, I was sexually abused. Came through that. The trauma left me unable to speak. I couldn't even say my own name. And I did find an invisible friend who I've spoken to ever since those days. And I think I've got an openness and a sensitivity in that area because life's important, and abuse comes in all sorts of forms. But life is very precious, and I've discovered the precious side of life. In fact, I would say I've been given my childhood back in my later years through creativity, storytelling, and just a joy for life in its fullness. And I think life's meant to be colourful and not to be distracted.
Yes, I think the storytelling, because the whole issue with Right to Life and pro-choice, it's two different stories talking against one another. And I'd like to, after the break, because we're running out of time, is to go to your side of that argument, that Right to Life.
Okay, that'll be a pleasure.
Argument. We'll be back in a moment. Welcome back. You're watching Support Life, and we're speaking with Reverend Gavin Baulch. Gavin, we were talking about where you started to become an activist at that level in relation to Support Life. Where did it begin?
Well, it actually began in the States. I was working with a film company over there. In fact, it was a film school. And they had a project. It was actually from the Right to Life movement. And I was just looking at some of the research, and the advertisements that we did make were just based on what is a woman really thinking. She's not asking questions, really. Is this a blob of cells? Or she's looking at, okay, so will the male involved, the father-to-be involved, are they supportive or not? when that goes cold fairly quickly, it's like, well, I'm on my own. I will choose to not keep this life. There doesn't seem to be a purpose. And as I read more of the research, it seems to be, a woman's intuitive. She does support life, and she would like to have the child if at all possible. And then the value of that life, what if Einstein had been aborted maybe, or yourself, or there wouldn't be this program. Or life is precious. Now, it's tough. No one says that life is perfect. It's tough. And for people who have additional encumbrances, it's difficult. And, I even like the phrase pro-choice, because when I'm put on the spot, and some people can be quite firm with me, well, you're not thinking about women. Well, I am, but in this case, I choose to support this woman's choice to continue with the pregnancy. And it's a phrase that we ought not to be, afraid of. We do make choices. And in this case, I support the life of the child, but the support with the mother as well.
Yes. Yes, you've had other experience with that linguistic sort of approach, haven't you? That sort of marketing approach almost in relation to it. And you ran an advertisement in Australia, didn't you?
Yes, we managed to have one that ran some years ago for quite a while on one of the channels. And we just simply took the approach that the woman was, under pressure, and yes, there was no other choice for her. But as she looked at who she was as a woman and the desire to continue with that pregnancy, she was driving a car down a road that said danger, curves ahead, road work, slow down, all that sort of stuff. She was fighting those kind of imposed outside thoughts, and then she decided to keep the child. She turns the car around and comes back and gets on the normal road and continues with the pregnancy. So it was just a simple ad. It wasn't really pushing any agenda, just there was that choice again.
Yes.
I remember when those tragedies in America where an abortionist was shot. I mean, that's a tragedy. When it comes to this debate, and it seems to be a debate, no life should be lost. No,
that's right. In fact, the whole issue of life, it comes across the issue of finding young vegetarian women who obviously have a problem with animals passing, but they still are pro-choice. So it really is a characteristically a difficult internal process.
Yes.
From your artistic point of view, from this filming, etc., do you see any pathway where, because women obviously need to be informed in a neutral sort of a way, how would that be achieved, do you think, visually? Is there a...
Visually, that's interesting. Well, I think one of the visual experiences as you talk to many women is when they go in during their one of their trimesters, and everyone's excited to see the scan that takes place, and they see that there's more shape to this. I can identify with this little person that's in there.
Yes.
And I think it's just a visual realisation that something is going on, and even when they're interested, is it a boy or a girl? So other very deep fundamental emotions rise. Again, they will choose, but I think those visual moments are so impactful, and it brings insight with it, and there is a love. I mean, us as guys, we kind of nurture a little bit. We don't really grasp it that well. No. Women are just amazing. They're amazing with their discernment. They're amazing with multitasking. Yes. When they're not well in the home and you're going to work and cooking and getting the kids off to school, my report card might have been quite poor when I was raising my kids, and those moments were certainly real. In fact, I would say to any woman watching this show that on behalf of men, if you have been hurt, violated, or any form of harm has come to you from a male, I apologise on behalf of men. And I say that most sincerely. And to me, it's almost a starting point. If only we could talk more together.
Yes.
Just, I think, be true to ourselves and to what's the Jewish expression, l'chaim, to life.
Yes.
And embrace that and be there for one another. And instead of being codependent or independent, that we're actually interdependent. And society once again becomes a community, and we look out for each other.
Yes, and that interdependence, how much do you see your previously referred to as secret friend playing the role in there? How much do you see Jesus playing the role in there with people?
Oh my goodness. I think he just bursts in. He bursts in through humanity. I think we're the flesh and blood. The first time someone meets Jesus ought to be us. Not because of bad press that's out there, and it's out there for a good reason. It's about this thing, love, humanity. What about your neighbour? Are we our brother's keeper? Will we make time to talk across the fence to whoever lives there? Will we embrace others for whom they are and their worth as God sees them?
Yes, and it really is that issue of love, isn't it? Without wanting to make any judgment either way, the question needs to be asked, how much love is there for that embryo? And that's a big question for the mother, and without wanting to neutralise all the issues that some women have to face, it comes down to that.
Yes.
Now, in your experience, and certainly in mine, it's embracing that love without the recognition that there is that secret friend behind it is a little bit incomplete.
Well, it seems to be, but look at any mother with a child. Okay, they may have had some bad experiences, and may have had to have made some choices that have hurt them personally. Their love for that child is an amazing thing. Working in schools, when the child might misbehave at school and the parent needs to be called in, watch the defence.
Watch the love.
And the love that takes place for that child.
And love is timeless,
yes,
but this interview is not.
Yes.
So we've run out of time.
Well, thank you.
So that's all for our conversation with Gavin today. Please stay watching, for after the break, in our next segment, you'll be able to watch a song from the recent pro-life song contest.
This song is called Precious Life, and when I wrote it a while back, I wrote it from the perspective of a child talking to a mother when the child was contemplating abortion. So I often wonder what that child would say. So I'd just like to dedicate it then to women who feel that they have no choice really in terms of whether to have an abortion or not. They feel they have to have one for whatever circumstance, but also for children then that don't actually have a voice. So it's called Precious Life.
Precious life, do I stand a chance? Will I live, or will I die by circumstance? Mama, here, my heart beat next to yours at night. Can I live? this precious life. Waking up, crying tears to see your face, needing love like the sinner needs the grace. Mama, please, I can't put your mind at ease if I live this precious life. Growing up, starting school today, I'll make you proud. Your little sunshine through the cloud, Mama dear. I'll do my very best in class. Can I live? Or will my life not come to pass? Giving up, life's not been all that fair, but I need you like a soul would need a prayer. Mama, no, we'll be okay, just you and I, together in this precious life. Together in this precious life. Together in this precious life.
Thank you. Thanks.